My name is Linda Parker. I'm 62 years old, and I never thought my own son would become the reason I cried myself to sleep. People always say a mother's love is endless. I believed that with all my heart. I gave my son everything I had. My time, my money, my dreams, even my future. If I could go back in time, I would still love him. But I would love myself too. My story began many years ago. When my son, Ethan, was only 6 years old, my husband, Michael, died in a car accident. One normal morning, he kissed us goodbye before work. That evening, 2 police officers stood at my front door. Everything changed in one day. I remember holding Ethan in my arms that night. He asked me the same question again and again. "Mom, when is Dad coming home?" I could not answer. I only hugged him tighter and cried after he fell asleep. From that day, I became both his mother and his father. Life was never easy. I worked mornings at a grocery store. At night, I cleaned office buildings. Some days, I slept only 4 or 5 hours. My hands became rough from work, but I never complained. Every dollar had a purpose: rent, food, school clothes, books, medicine. There was never money left for me. I stopped buying new dresses. I wore the same winter coat for almost 10 years. When my shoes became old, I fixed them instead of buying another pair. But Ethan never felt poor. That was important to me. On his birthdays, I always saved enough money for a small cake and one special gift. Every Christmas, I stayed awake after midnight, wrapping presents with colorful paper from the discount store. When he smiled, I forgot how tired I was. As Ethan grew older, he became a kind and polite boy. He hugged me every morning before school. He always said, "Thank you, Mom." Sometimes he even cooked simple dinners when I worked late. One evening, I came home exhausted. The kitchen smelled wonderful. Ethan smiled proudly. "I made spaghetti." The noodles were too soft, and the sauce was too salty. I ate every bite. "It tastes perfect," I told him. He laughed. "I know you're lying." We both laughed until tears filled our eyes. Those memories became my greatest treasure. When Ethan entered college, money became even harder to find. His tuition was expensive. I sold my mother's gold necklace. It was the only thing she had left me before she passed away. I held it in my hand for a long time before selling it. It broke my heart. But helping Ethan mattered more. He graduated with honors. As I watched him walk across the stage wearing his cap and gown, I cried with happiness. I whispered to myself, "Your father would be so proud." After graduation, Ethan found a good job at a technology company. For the first time in many years, I felt I could finally rest. "I'll take care of you now, Mom," he said one evening. "You've worked hard enough." Those words healed every painful memory I carried. A few years later, Ethan introduced me to a young woman named Jessica. She was beautiful, confident, and successful. At first, she was polite. She smiled during dinner and thanked me for cooking. I believed Ethan had found the right person. When they became engaged, I was happier than anyone. I even used most of my savings to help pay for their wedding. "It isn't necessary," Ethan said, but I smiled. "It makes me happy." On their wedding day, I looked at my son standing at the front of the church. He looked so handsome. I thanked God for giving him a better life than mine. After the wedding, they asked me to move into the small guest room in the house. "It'll be easier," Ethan said. "We're family." My heart was full. I believed we would spend many happy years together. I did not know that little by little, everything would begin to change. At first, the changes were so small that I ignored them. A shorter conversation, a colder smile, a closed bedroom door. I told myself they were simply busy building their new life. I wanted to believe that, because I never imagined the little boy who once held my hand so tightly would one day let it go. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I talked too much. Maybe I stayed in the kitchen too long. Maybe I was becoming a burden. I tried to be invisible. Every morning, I woke up before Ethan and Jessica. I cleaned the kitchen, washed the dishes, folded the laundry, and made breakfast. I wanted them to come downstairs to a clean house. Jessica rarely thanked me. Instead, she looked around and found something to criticize. "The floor isn't clean enough. The towels aren't folded the right way. You use too much soap." I smiled and apologized every time. "I'll do better." She never smiled back. Ethan noticed these moments, but he stayed quiet. That hurt more than Jessica's words. One evening, I was making chicken soup. Ethan used to love that soup when he was little. Whenever he got sick, I made it for him. Jessica walked into the kitchen. "We already ordered dinner," she said. "I know," I replied softly. "This soup is for tomorrow." She crossed her arms. "You don't need to cook anymore." I looked at her. I just wanted to help. "We don't need your help." Her voice was calm, but her words felt sharp. That night, I barely touched my dinner. A few weeks later, I noticed Ethan had changed too. He stopped eating meals with me. He stopped asking about my day. When he came home from work, he went straight upstairs. Sometimes I did not see him until the next morning. I kept telling myself he was busy. A mother always finds excuses for the child she loves. One Saturday afternoon, Ethan knocked on my bedroom door. "Mom, can we talk?" His smile reminded me of the little boy I raised. For a moment, I felt relieved. We sat at the kitchen table. He looked nervous. "Jessica and I have been thinking about the future." I nodded. "That's good. We want to renovate the house." "That sounds exciting." He hesitated before speaking again. "The lawyer said it would be easier if the house was only in my name." I looked at him, confused. "The house?" He reached across the table and held my hand. "It's only paperwork, Mom." "You'll still live here." "Nothing will change." I trusted him without question. The house had belonged to me for almost 30 years. I finished paying the mortgage only 5 years earlier. It was the home where Ethan learned to walk. The home where we celebrated birthdays. The home where I cried after Michael died. Every wall held a memory. But Ethan was my son. If he said everything would stay the same, I believed him. A week later, we went to a lawyer's office. The papers were long. The words were complicated. I did not understand most of them. "Do I need to read everything?" I asked. Ethan smiled. "It's standard paperwork." "You trust me, don't you?" I smiled back. "With my life." I signed every page. When we left the office, Ethan hugged me. "Thank you, Mom." I felt proud that I could still help him. For a few days, everything seemed normal. Then little things began disappearing. The family pictures in the living room were replaced with expensive paintings. Michael's old chair disappeared. My flower garden was removed because Jessica wanted a modern look. Every change made the house feel less like home. One afternoon, I overheard Jessica talking on the phone. "I can't wait until we have the whole place to ourselves." I stopped walking. Maybe I misunderstood. I wanted to believe I misunderstood. Then came the day that changed my life forever. It was raining outside. I had just finished folding laundry when Ethan asked me to sit down. Jessica stood beside him with her arms folded. Neither of them smiled. Ethan stared at the floor. Finally, he spoke. "Mom, we need more space." I laughed a little. "I can move my things into the guest closet." He shook his head. "That's not what I mean." The room suddenly felt cold. Jessica spoke before Ethan could continue. "It's time for you to find another place to live." I looked from her to my son. Surely he would tell her she was wrong. Surely he would defend me. Instead, he quietly nodded. "I think it's best." For a moment, I could not breathe. "What are you saying?" Ethan rubbed his forehead. "Mom, this house belongs to me now." The words hit me like a storm. I whispered, "I gave you this house because you promised I would always have a home." He avoided my eyes. "Things change." I felt tears filling my eyes. "So, where am I supposed to go?" Jessica answered without emotion. "You're an adult." "You'll figure it out." I turned back to my son, the little boy who once cried in my arms, the young man I worked 2 jobs to raise, the son for whom I sold my mother's necklace. He stood only a few feet away, yet I had never felt so far from him. Then he said the words that shattered my heart. "Mom, I need you to leave by the end of the week." At that moment, I realized something even more painful than losing my home. I had already lost my son. I packed my life into 3 old suitcases. It took less than 2 hours. That surprised me. After living for more than 30 years in the same house, everything I truly owned fit into a few bags. Some clothes, family photo albums, my husband's wedding ring, a small blanket Ethan loved when he was a little boy. I picked up one picture from the shelf. It showed Ethan at 8 years old. He was missing his front teeth and smiling as he held my hand at the county fair. I gently wiped away a tear. "I miss that little boy," I whispered. The little boy loved me. The man he became did not. When I carried my last suitcase to the front door, Ethan was standing there. For 1 second, I hoped he would stop me. I hoped he would say, "Mom, I'm sorry, please stay." Instead, he looked away. "I'll call you," he said quietly. I forced a small smile. "You don't have to." Jessica opened the front door without saying a word. I stepped outside. The door closed behind me. The sound echoed in my heart. It was the sound of my old life ending. I sat inside my old car for nearly an hour. I did not know where to go. I had no apartment, no close family. Most of my old friends had moved away or passed on. For the first time since Michael died, I felt completely alone. That night, I rented the cheapest motel room I could find. The room smelled old. The air conditioner barely worked. The mattress was hard. But what hurt the most was the silence. There was no one to ask if I had eaten. No one to say goodnight. I looked at my phone many times. I hoped Ethan would call. He never did. The next morning, I counted my savings. After helping with Ethan's wedding and signing over the house, I had very little left. Enough for only a few weeks. Fear filled my heart. At 62, who would hire me? Still, I refused to give up. The next day, I put on my cleanest blouse and walked into every small business I could find. Most people smiled politely before saying the same thing. "I'm sorry, we're not hiring." By the afternoon, my feet hurt. My hope was fading. Then I walked into a small neighborhood bakery. The sweet smell of fresh bread filled the room. Behind the counter stood an older woman with kind eyes. Her name tag read Mary. "You look tired," she said gently. I laughed a little. "I guess it shows." Instead of asking me to leave, she invited me to sit down. She handed me a warm cup of coffee. We talked for almost 20 minutes. For some reason, I told her everything. About Michael, about Ethan, about losing my home. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You've spent your whole life taking care of others," she said. "Now it's time to take care of yourself." Those simple words touched something deep inside me. Then she surprised me. "My cashier retired last month." "The pay isn't much. But if you're willing to work hard, the job is yours." I almost cried. "You mean it?" She smiled warmly. "I believe good people deserve another chance." That little bakery became my new beginning. The work was not easy. I stood on my feet all day. I greeted customers. I packed bread. I learned everyone's favorite pastries. Every evening, I went back to my tiny motel room, tired but proud. For the first time in years, I was doing something for myself. Weeks turned into months. With every paycheck, I saved a little money. Soon I moved into a small one-bedroom apartment. It wasn't fancy. The kitchen was tiny. The furniture came from thrift stores. The windows were old. But every bill was paid with my own hard work. Every key in my pocket belonged to me. One Saturday morning, Mary looked at me and smiled. "You seem different." I laughed. "I feel different." "You stand taller." I thought about her words. She was right. The woman who left her son's house crying was slowly disappearing. A stronger woman was taking her place. One evening, as I closed the bakery, my phone rang. The screen showed Ethan's name. It was the first time he had called in almost 6 months. For a long moment, I simply stared at the phone. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Another part still remembered the little boy who once held my hand. I answered. "Hello." For several seconds, there was only silence. Then I heard something I never expected. My son was crying. "Mom!" His voice shook. I need your help." I closed my eyes. The pain he had given me rushed back all at once. But deep inside, I knew this phone call was not about love. It was about something he had already lost. And for the first time in my life, I was no longer sure I could save him. My son's crying filled the silence. "Mom! Please!" It had been 6 months since he told me to leave my own home. 6 months without a birthday card, without a phone call, without a simple question asking if I was okay. Now he needed me. I took a slow breath. "What happened, Ethan?" His voice was weak. "Jessica left." I closed my eyes. He continued speaking between tears. "She emptied our bank account. She filed for divorce. And the house." He stopped talking. "What about the house?" I asked. "We couldn't keep up with the payments after she quit her job." "The bank is taking it." The house. The same house where I had raised him. The same house he made me leave. It was gone. I did not feel happy. I did not feel angry. I only felt sad. "So, you were right," Ethan whispered. "What do you mean?" "I thought money was everything. I thought making Jessica happy would make my life better. I lost my wife. I lost my home. And..." His voice broke again. "I lost my mother." Tears filled my eyes. No matter how much he had hurt me, hearing my son cry still hurt my heart. He quietly asked, "Can I see you?" After a long silence, I answered, "Tomorrow afternoon." The next day, we met at a small park. The same park where I used to push him on the swings when he was little. I almost didn't recognize him. He looked thinner. His eyes were tired. His shoulders were bent. He looked older than his 34 years. The confident man I remembered was gone. As soon as he saw me, tears rolled down his face. "I'm so sorry, Mom." He walked toward me slowly. "I believed the wrong person." "I forgot everything you did for me." "I chose someone who only loved what I could give her." His hands were shaking, and I threw away the person who loved me for nothing. I listened quietly. For months, I had imagined this moment. I thought I would yell. I thought I would tell him how much he had hurt me. Instead, I simply saw a broken man standing before me. He looked just like the frightened little boy who asked me where his father had gone all those years ago. "I'm ashamed," he whispered. "I don't deserve your forgiveness." I gently nodded. "You are right." He lowered his head. "I don't." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The wind softly moved the trees above us. Finally, I broke the silence. "Ethan!" He looked up. "I forgave you a long time ago." His eyes filled with hope. But forgiveness doesn't erase what happened. His smile slowly disappeared. "I spent my whole life believing that if I gave you enough love, everything would be okay. I was wrong. I forgot to love myself." He began crying again. "I'm sorry." "I know. I wish I could change the past." "I know." He took one careful step closer. Will you come home? I smiled gently. My home isn't there anymore. I mean, wherever I am. I looked at him for a long moment. Then I softly shook my head. No. His face fell. I love you. You will always be my son. But I will never again live in a place where I am not respected. He wiped away his tears. I understand. For the first time in years, I believed he truly did. We sat together on a park bench until the sun began to set. We talked for hours. Not about the house. Not about Jessica. We talked about Michael, about old birthdays, about the spaghetti Ethan made when he was 12. For the first time in a long while, we laughed together. Before leaving, Ethan hugged me. Not because he wanted something, not because he needed money. He hugged me because he finally understood what he had almost lost forever. Over the next year, we slowly rebuilt our relationship. It was not easy. Trust takes much longer to rebuild than it does to break. Sometimes Ethan visited me after work. Sometimes we had dinner together. He never asked for money. He never asked for a place to live. He only asked for another chance to be a better son. And little by little, he earned it. Today, I still work at Mary's Bakery. Not because I have to, because I enjoy it. I love greeting my customers. I love my small apartment. I love the peaceful life I built with my own hands. Most of all, I have learned something I wish I had known many years ago. Love should never require you to lose your dignity. Kindness should never mean accepting disrespect. You can forgive someone without giving them the power to hurt you again. My son once took away my house, but he did not take away my strength. He did not take away my kindness. And he could never take away the woman I finally became. If my story teaches you one thing, let it be this. Give your children love. Give them your time. Give them your guidance. But never give away your self-respect. Because a home is not built with walls. A home is built with love. And real love always begins by valuing yourself.